Hey folks, we're doing a sharpening and talking video once again. As I said last time, this is kind of what I've got in the tank at the moment. Good way of still enjoying knives, but without really being on that conveyor belt of just constantly buying something new. So caring for my existing tools. The two knives I'm sharpening have both had an interesting week. This is a scrawny lumberjack. This is a knife that Kyle sent me ages ago in Z12 Ultra. It's like a steel that I hadn't had any test data on. Very, very high performing, like a 10V-esque steel. Cut really well, really long time, and it has just fallen into a role as like one of our house knives. Like I've seen wife's had this out on her craft table and her makeup table, and it's just kind of getting around. It's getting used a fair bit, and it's definitely could do with a bit of a touch up by this point. It's still sharpish, but yeah, I'm gonna have a crack at sharpening it. So there's that one I'm gonna do, and also this half-breed blades. This is the infantry knife. I think it's kind of like their version of the K-bar. It's like a full tang K-bar. It's in K110. It's D2, and yeah, this is my wild animal dispatch knife. I mean, I've hit several kangaroos in the last couple of months, and this is the one that sits in the car and does the business when it's 1 o'clock in the morning and there's no one around with a long arm to come and put it out of its misery. A dispatch with a knife is the next most humane thing. Bit of a heart stopper, and yeah, this has done that. As such, it's hit some asphalt, it's hit some rocks, it's just been in dirty pelts of kangaroos. Those things, you shake them and the dust is just choking. These things just live a life covered in dust. So it definitely needs a sharpen as well. Still got a little bit of blood on it actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to colour in the edges of both. Even though they're very different steels, I'm approaching them the same way. So they're both getting the Spyderco CBN stone first. The cubic boron nitride of a Spyderco is very similar to like hitting it with a diamond plate. CBN is basically same, interchangeable with diamond plates in sharpening systems. For your sort of more high hardness or higher carbide steels, like say steels that have more exotic elements forming carbides than just carbon, so steels that have vanadium, niobium, things like that in them, do well on cubic boron nitride because it just cuts it easier because it's harder than most things, especially when you consider just a normal ceramic waterstone. Like this is a Shapton glass. Things like this often don't cut as easily or even at all through some more exotic carbide formers. So which one will I start on? I think I'll start on this half-breed blades knife. Start on this one. You can do the same thing with both of them, so we'll work our way through. So yeah, coarse fine. Start on the coarse side, it's about 400 grit or so, move to the fine side, and then I probably will be dusting it off on the 2000. I sharpened my Creeley omnivore kitchen knife the other day. Got a really good result using the same method. That's in Magna Cut, that knife, and that did really, really well. Yeah. So these are the kind of videos I've been sort of just happy to make lately, comfortable to make. Just where I chat with you all, just share some opinions, and just always remember, when I share my opinions, like the way I think the world should work is that, this is obviously kind of tying in with probably what's on my mind a lot lately. This has always been the case with me, really. I mean, maybe for a while, back before we realized it was happening, before we realized that they gave us culture wars to distract us. Maybe I was a bit different too. But nowadays, truly, if you are not someone who has more than like $10 million in your bank, chances are we are more friend than foe, no matter what we think about, niche wedge issues. So there we go. That's kind of how I'm thinking at the moment. So please don't get too upset with me personally, because the things I'm shooting at today that I'm probably going to complain about in my in my comments are things that are very rare and weird, and people who are very actually rare and weird. And so you're probably figuring it out already that it's been a big week. This has been a week that has, I think, seen more of a vibe shift than we've had since probably 2016. Absolutely wild week. Obviously, depending on where we're getting our outside world news is possibly different too, but from where I've been sitting, and even from interacting with a lot of you all, it's been really, really interesting. It's been, how's that looking? a little bit. So I'm rubbing off the black. So as you see, I've rubbed a bit too high and there's still some black right towards the edge. So I need to sort of just lift my knife up just a little bit. This edge was quite thick, and it's fine being thick because it is it's a hard use, stabby sort of knife. That's got it, that's perfect. So yeah, just a real vibe shift. It was funny. I have had thoughts about things that are going on in America. And, because I'm very much on the side of like, leave people alone. Like, just leave people alone is pretty much my philosophy. Does that make me a libertarian? I don't know. I'm also a bit like I also think that sort of government should exist to provide what people can't provide for themselves as well. So, all sorts really, I know. Like, don't really fit. Maybe I don't fit. Maybe I don't really fit any of the predisposed. No, I'm sure I do. But I just so I saw some of the stuff that was going on with like the type of immigration policing that's happening. And it was funny, that lady got shot in her car. And I sort of broadcast that I didn't have particularly positive feelings about that, and I lost about 500 followers on my Instagram. This is just on my Instagram talk, and I very rarely talk about this stuff on this channel, but then it just seems it's so wild at the moment that fuck it, I'm doing it. We're going live. Yeah, so it's funny, I broadcast about that. Just a couple of, few little stories, this is bad. This shouldn't happen. Yeah, lady's got an issue with the police. The police are supposed to be the ones who aren't like knee-jerky and, being in the police, you need to sort of just be able to take a few dangerous situations even. And this could be controversial, but because you're the professional and the public aren't. Anyway, so broadcast a couple of things about that. Lost 500 followers. Well, okay. Didn't like that. But then, 2 weeks later, that guy got shot in sort of similar-ish circumstances. But he was a guy and he had a gun, and the government people were like, he shouldn't have carried a gun. And then that was the start of the vibe shift, in my opinion. I think when we look back on 2026, that will be the start of the broader vibe shift, because fuck me, people were just like, I posted a couple of things about that, and people who had previously I'd seen not been super fond of me talking about the lady who got shot were like, yep, this is outrage, this is bullshit. So that was, and I didn't lose any followers. Maybe I lost all of the ones I was going to lose in that first one, but whatever. Just interesting. What I'm getting at is the vibe shift. That was the start of the vibe shift. And then obviously in the last week, just the scale of either the people in power being pedophiles or pedophile like adjacent and fine with that has just been wrought large for us all to see, which has just been, I think, upsetting to anyone who's not in that class. Like, you got to remember, us normies figured this shit out ages ago. Us normies are like, if there's a pedo that lives in our towns and he gets out to the public, that's where he lives, he doesn't get peace. His house gets egged. It's like, not saying this is right, but we figured it out. Us normal, like, wage slave class, What about being super, super rich makes you not, disgusted by these types of people? Because it's the same. Whether you live in a council flat or you live in a mansion, if you're rooting 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and you're like a 50-year-old man, it's just as disgusting as the other. There's a meme that used to go around that used to be like, what's tacky when poor people do it, but fine when rich people do it? And the answer used to be, accept government handouts, because, there's the classic, corporate welfare is not seen as tacky, but, welfare is seen as like, ew, gross, But I think the answer to that meme now might almost be rooting kids, because it seems like that class is just permissive. That Attorney General lady who was on, and just, she was talking about the Dow because she just didn't want to answer the questions about why they were redacting the names of people who were sending disgusting emails. And obviously in this disgusting, pedophile sex cult thing that was happening, that lady, and all I could think of when I was looking at her was like, lady, you are probably 40 years old. All these old men who are involved in this, they're going to be dead in like 10 years tops. Like, not many people live past 90. Even very, very, very wealthy people with the best of healthcare don't usually live past 90. So you're going to effectively spend your life with all this public record of you going into bat for why we are not releasing the names of, and let's just cherry pick some really obvious examples. Not releasing the name of, the guy who said to Epstein, 10-year-old Brazilian girl, and then there was a JPEG, or love the torture video. Wild. And all I can say is, and this is because I've had a really, not a tough week, but I've had a lot of self-consciousness this week about I'm talking about this too much. I'm becoming a cooker. I'm becoming one of those fucking people. I think I can solve the mysteries of the world on my computer. And what gives me hesitation to throw myself in with that lot that I would once have teased. There used to be a meme about the boomer on the computer thinks he's solving the Illuminati or whatever. But what gives me pause and what sort of makes me feel a little bit more empowered, and I'm thankful for these men, is the bipartisan effort that is chasing this. Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna, obviously just men who would have vastly different, if they were running the country, they'd run larger, in the bigger picture, they'd run things entirely different to each other, I'm sure. But at least they've got some integrity to say, these disgusting pedophiles shouldn't be protected, and this is awful what's happened. And basically, everyone who has, been involved in this should be named and shamed and should be left to defend themselves and should be held to account. And it's just, because you've got this bipartisan effort, that is just, those two guys, and I'm sure there's others too, there's others gradually coming around. This has been the vibe shift. There are people coming around, but it started off with those two guys really, in the most public of ways, just really gave it legitimacy that it really needed to get it out of just the cooker. Cooker might be an Australian term, but it's the kind of paranoid tinfoil hat, that sort of thing. It really did lift it out of that. And yeah, this past week, it's just been so widely reported on everywhere but the Murdoch press, because obviously Rupert Murdoch is also in the Epstein files and listed. They stayed at his house and things like that. So, you're not going to see it there. You're probably not going to see it on I don't know how Elon Musk's media is covering it. I don't have Twitter, I don't play with those sorts of things. I notice Zuckerberg's media, Instagram is where it's all going off at the moment, Instagram and Threads. So obviously Zuck, you can probably assume that he's not implicated in the Epstein files, which is crazy. That's how you need to think of media these days, that whoever owns it is going to control it and not show stories that they don't like. But it's probably very, very true. It's just human nature, isn't it? So yeah, just been an amazing vibe shift. And I've pretty much had people who, just in my very small pocket of the internet, I've got 7,000 Instagram followers. I've got all this YouTube going on, but this is not really adjacent to that. This is probably the second or third time I've ever really talked about this stuff on YouTube. But yeah, from that lady getting killed where I was like, that's bad, and everyone was like, fuck you, which is what it was like. It was crazy. To that guy getting killed, and then to this, everyone's just like, yeah, this is fucked. This is cooked. This has gone too far. This is wild. He's lost. You can see all of his tradition, all of the Trump's traditional platforms, the podcasting manosphere type guys. They're all just a bit nah, we're not going to be the people who, when all these men are long dead, because this is the deal you're making with yourself. When these people are dead, which is not going to be in a long time. I'm not wishing death on anyone. I think everyone should be clinically taken apart for this and made to read and look at every gross thing they're in. Prince Andrew should have to look through all those photos he's in. Fuck that guy. So I don't think they should all be killed. I mean, the rhetoric is fun to think of them all getting thrown in the sea or whatever, but anyway, yeah, I just think it's a real turning point. It is just a real turnaround, and I think people are realizing, yeah, while we were all, and there's emails between, just the wildness of it is that microtransactions in video games pretty much came from Epstein snowballing the idea with Bobby Kotick from Activision. It's just wild. Not that that's the only place it came from, but that just speaks volumes about what they want us all doing, spending our money on shit. And then in the other emails, they're just laughing about how we're all pretty pretty much just busy laughing about and arguing about and teasing each other about, is Star Wars woke, and is a slightly masculine looking female boxer, do we need to check her chromosomes? Like, they're laughing at us that we're arguing about that sort of stuff when they're literally fucking kids. Anyway, so yeah, that's been really on my mind this week, and I had to sort of stop, because it's not healthy. It's not healthy to keep looking at it. Lodge my discontent, register my part of the whole, you won't find me. I always think of Jimmy Savile. I don't know if you know of Jimmy Savile in the UK, but Jimmy Savile was there was always the smoke, but when he died, the fire broke out. And it was like, oh yeah, this guy is just the worst pedophile that's ever lived in the UK, pretty much. Absolutely awful. And so, like, anyone who would have previously defended him was like, nope. And that was kind of before everything was on the record. So nowadays, if you are not right now actively demolishing these people, you're going to be the one that's left with like a very much public record of sticking up for what is very clearly a paedophile racket and a paedophile protection racket from people who are just wanting to kiss the ring of this guy and his inner circle. Absolutely wild week. And yeah, just truly the vibe shift in just the reporting of it, the coverage of it. Like, there's, you've got Massey and Canna and a few like pretty brave political operators who are, as it's going on, there's more and more of them. So those two were the ones that really broke the dam. And then you've got, The Guardian covers it a little bit. Al Jazeera covers a little bit. You've got some of your more sort of less, the media that's less kind of entwined with, I guess Epstein people. They're sort of talking about it a little bit. But then you've just got small journalists who had just run themselves through like social media. They are really sort of carrying the torch on it as well. So really, really interesting times. Nothing will be the same. If this stuff isn't properly investigated, and honestly, all the redactions need to be taken off, and the people who are sending gross emails to Epstein can answer for themselves. That's what needs to happen. And if this stuff doesn't happen, then really, if we ever had any Western moral superiority, if when the biggest paedophile ring probably in known history is revealed openly to us, as it's been openly revealed to us, and we don't suitably deal with that, like, we lose any moral sort of authority that we have to say, you shouldn't be doing that in your country, and your country should be doing this better. It's like they can clearly just say, yeah, well, your country is run by like the Epstein class, so frankly, we don't care what you think. So yeah, just wild times. Like, this is going to be the most interesting year, and it's just such a shift. And all I hope is that the hope I have, and I do have hope. Like, I feel despair sometimes. I work, like, I don't really talk about my job. I'm not supposed to, not really, like, not openly. I don't want to make this a channel where I talk about my job, but I know a lot about child abuse and how it works. Somewhat of a clinician in that field. And I find it really distressing that it is like, there are this many people out in the world who are stained by this thing, and have probably been frankly killed and forced to have abortions and forced to have surgeries and all these sorts of things that these files are just kind of like illuminating and hinting at. And again, it needs to be fully investigated, but it's just, I try not to get into the real wild stuff that people are coming out with, because I know there's like elements of manipulation going on as well. It's a lot, but yeah. So I feel despair. for like the children involved, but I am also feeling a little bit of hope that this might be the time when people start to be skeptical of someone who needs $1 billion or needs endless wealth and power. Like, maybe these should be people that we see as a bit sick, as a bit, wrong. Like, it's wrong to be like that. If I had $1 billion, I would like hold court in my town, and people would come to me and ask for stuff, and I would grant it. I'd be like like one of those old movies with, and not to say I'd make myself a king, but you know how the king holds court in the movies and people, the farmer comes, he's just like, my fences keep getting eaten by the bears, my lord. And the king's like, there shall be more fences and they shall be made of the finest oaks and mahoganies. Oh, thank you, my lord. Like, I would literally do that if I was a billionaire. Like, and like, how much money do you need? How much power do you need? Like, you're one human in one human body that's going to live a finite amount of time, as much as they seem to be trying to get around that by putting their brains into computers and all this shit, and you know, having these crazy Brian Johnson levels of health interventions. But like, if you truly need more, like, then your own house, maybe have a bit of familial wealth accumulated, some houses that your family might own for like your kids to live in while they study, that sort of stuff. If you need much more than that, like, there's actually something wrong with you, I think. And it's that level of psychopathy that I think we have seen manifest itself in the furthest flung version of that, is when they truly care about so little to do with like actual people that they traffic kids. Crazy. And I think we're all starting to see that. And what I hope is that this whole thing fosters a really healthy dubiousness and doubt amongst people. So no one should have a favorite billionaire. We all need to realize that, you know, and I'm not a communist or anything like that. I don't think it's not as simple as that. But it's just like, no one needs like hundreds of millions or billions of personal wealth and assets and everything for just you and yours, you know? And I've just been so tired of just culture war nonsense, and it's just turned out that's all just been so they can keep doing this, just so we, as I say, argue with each other over, is Star Wars too woke, you know, on critical drinker videos and shit. It's just, we need to stop now. Like, that needs to stop now. We all need to have a word with ourselves. Just be like, this isn't an important thing. Like, a drag queen reading a book at a school, as far as I'm aware, like, they're not the ones reading all the kids. Like, you know, so whatever you feel about that, whether you feel like to cringe or whether you feel like squeaked out about that, we just need to be like really big picture here and see who the people who have actually been affecting us negatively are. And they aren't anyone, not really. I mean, you obviously get your criminals and things. Crime affects everyone. But like the organized, structured, you know, wholesale, it's the people that would say that they are like the captains of industry and the heads of the trickle-down economics and all that disproven bullshit. So I have hope that this is going to be a change. The vibe is changing already. I've seen people who were sort of, you know, would never have, I thought, been critical of like this current administration or anything. And pretty much, especially since Bondi is disastrous. Like, the Dow is at 50,000. We're asking about why you're blacking out the names of people sending like 10-year-old children photos around. We're asking you why you're blacking out names. We don't care about the Dow. You fucking weirdo. Like, yeah, I think people are really switching on, which gives me some hope. Anyway, there's that. That's that. Maybe I should stop talking about that. Look, if you're really upset that I've just said a bunch of stuff about your favorite billionaire or politician or pedophile, then I'm sorry. I guess unsubscribe. That's fine. But all I'm saying is that people wouldn't defend Jimmy Savile now that he's dead. No one would. I don't think he's got a single defender in the world now. But if it had started to come out while he's still alive in a big way, there would have been defenders of Jimmy Savile. And they would look really fucking dumb right now. So, anyway. That's that. So what else have I been doing? I've been weighted walking a whole bunch with my backpack full of 20 kilos of bricks. Just checking my watch. I have to take my kids to things soon. Filling my backpack with bricks. My nice new like Zerk backpack's holding up really, really well. Take dogs for a walk, do that a few times a week. That has really buffed me up like crazy, to be honest. Like my muscle, because I do like a plug-in thing at the gym where it tells you what your muscle mass is and that sort of thing. has like added a couple of percent to that just in a month. So it's obviously really hitting stuff that I wasn't hitting with anything else. Really, really good. You know, you don't need to go and buy the crazy expensive rucking stuff. Like, you can just use a good backpack like I do. And yeah, just real strong improvement on that. And that's helping my pull-ups, because remember I say I'm trying to get to 20 pull-ups. I'm at about 16 now when I just start off fresh in the gym. So by December, I should definitely be there. And also I have been swimming. I had my second swimming lesson, and also I've been going to the pool just for fun to get comfortable with it. I still really struggle with exhaling breath under the water. Like, I know you hum, been trying to hum, that's good. That does help a little bit, but yeah, it's not easy. I definitely have some anxieties and fears about having my face under the water and things. I'm not sure where it comes from. I've never really been traumatized by the water, but yeah, I think my body is just like, this isn't what you normally do. So I'm just kind of fighting through it at the moment, but I can breaststroke from one end of the pool to the other now. My breathing, you know, might be not great, but without having to touch the bottom, I can stop and get a fresh breath and out. It does feel by the end of my swimming lesson like my chest is super heavy, because I'm obviously not breathing enough, or I'm over breathing, or I'm under breathing. I'm thinking too much about it still. So that is something that will change in time, but that's been like a really positive thing to do as well. And again, great fitness. Like, I use leg muscles that, again, I can't hit with my, you know, squats and my Romanian, what are they called, split squats, all that sort of stuff. So really, really good. Really happy I'm going through this week. So New Year's resolutions ticking along pretty well. I did have a moment of weakness with my buy nothing rebellion. I had a birthday recently, and I got some money from my dad, and I bought myself a new lunchbox for work. So I didn't really need one. I have a lunchbox here that I could have used, but I saw one and I wanted it, so I got it. And you know, I'm a little bit bashful about it, but again, I'm not perfect. I try and wear all this openly on my sleeve, so like, I don't know, I never want to show myself, and even all the stuff I've talked about at the start of the video, you know, maybe that is all cringe to you, and maybe you think I'm wrong. It's like, I'm just trying to be, I think the least thing I can do for you guys is, if I'm not talking about, I know you all want me to talk about knives and steels and that sort of stuff, I'm just a bit beaten, tuck it out on that stuff. It just doesn't feel like the time, you know? But the least I can do for you, I think, is just be like a normal person on the internet, not an AI person, not a person who's going to break off and do an ad read about fucking NordVPN, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's like, that's what I can do for you right now. Take it or leave it, I guess, yeah? So I'm just going to stop for a second and go and take my kids to somewhere. I will be back. I'm on the second stone now. The knife is definitely looking sharp. It's feeling sharp, yeah. This is not, yeah, so it's already very, very sharp, which is great. It's not even sort of finalized or treated or stropped or anything. So, and I'm gonna hit it with the 2000 after this as well. So, be right back. Do you want to see my underpants? Hello, I'm back. Just some 2000 on this D2, get it nice and polished. Kids are in a musical together. Drop up at the rehearsal for that. This is such a relaxing hobby to have, it really is. Freehand sharpening, I've really come around to it. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million. Is that the Bare Naked Ladies or Smash Mouth? It's gotta be. Smash Mouth is also, yes, Bare Naked Ladies. If I had $1 million, I mean, $1 million, not really that much. I mean, it's a lot. It's life-changing to any pleb, and silly to say it's not. But now it's like, the latest lottery just now is 80 million. Obviously, we're talking about what we do with $80 million. And again, given that it's at the forefront of my mind at the moment, it brought me back around to these, you know, these frankly psychos. And I'm not one for therapy speak. I don't like to label people as, like, you know, clinically flawed, but I think there is a certain psychopathy to hoarding billions of dollars, because I was thinking if I had $80 million, like maybe, I mean, I'd pay off my house, obviously, because who wants to be in debt? No one. I'd make sure that like my kids could study, and here the university is not a financial problem as much, because there's like a loan system where you like pay it off really slowly over like, you know, your career. But I mean, obviously you'd like to just pay that off straight away, but mainly it's like the housing for them to like live somewhere, so I'd pay that. But like I would be at a loss of what to do with the rest of it. So I'm like, what would you do? Would I go on a holiday? Could I go on like a big glossy holiday, like knowing that probably even people in my life, but even just at least people in my community, like could have used that money first? This is just how I sort of think. Like if I had $80 million right now, what I know locally that we need is there needs to be some kind of, like one of those social problems that persists in Australia is that, and maybe it's getting better, I hope it's getting better, but we have lots of like people who get stuck in bad marriages. And you get stuck in a bad marriage because of the logistics, like because of, you know, you marry someone, have a baby with them when you're really young, and you know, really young people aren't often thinking things out or giving things the time they need. And this is not something you can retroactively punish people for, but it is something you need to be able to help people out with later, because those relationships, when they go toxic, they actually become unsafe. And the thing that keeps people stuck in them is just the simple fact that we've got kids together and I can't afford to get out of this like dual income thing that we're in. And so what I would do is I would set up there'd be obviously some checks and balances and whatnot, but if you're in a verified case of like spousal abuse and you were just stuck, I would, consider all the facts and set you up in your new life. You could get that once, people are going to need that more times than once. You'd hope that they would learn like how to choose the next person better, or just be single and be happy being single, or whatever it is. But there'd obviously be check. And this is just something that I would do in my local community. And this is just an example of like why don't these people who hoard these huge sums of wealth, hide it all offshore, don't want to pay tax on it, why are they like this? Why aren't they like that? It's like you must get I think it's like you have to either have a hard heart and no conscience to begin with, and those traits allow you to accumulate billions or hundreds of millions, or does your heart get hard and you associate with people and in circles that start to convince yourselves that we're all just we didn't want it enough, like, or we weren't amazing geniuses, so we don't deserve to have our problems solved by their generosity or whatever it is. Like maybe that's what happens. I wonder which it is, or it's a bit of both. Like maybe it's just a type of human that exists that, unless it's given the right environment. Like I remember, here's a good story. When I was like 18, I was figuring out what I wanted to do, like with myself. I wasn't the brightest student in the world. Like I passed my high school, like I got my certificate of high school graduation, great. But my like university entry score was pretty low. So my options were a bit limited, right? And so I had this, when I was 18, I sort of just had a bit of a year where I tried a bunch of different things. I thought maybe I'll be a bartender for a while, and I'd met Teresa, and so I wanted to, I wanted proper, stable money, rather than just being a fun person in my 20s who's happy to work a few odd jobs and whatever. So I wanted stable money. And so one of the things I tried, well, I was suckered in. I was 18, so I didn't know what I was fucking doing. I got called to I went into it's called a direct sales opportunity. Make $3,000 a week. Knowing, you're all rolling your eyes because you probably know what this is exactly, but as an 18-year-old me, this is why, people who make lifelong mistakes when they're 18, you can't be hard-hearted towards them, because I was one of them. I could have made, I made a mistake that, just shows how you're still learning at that point, And so I went to this thing, and it turned out to be a commission-based, door-to-door salesman type job. And I didn't even realize it was that until it was too late. and I was out knocking on doors with some fucking loser, one of the biggest losers I've ever met, just David Brent from The Office, just that kind of like, oh, right, you know, that's the guy. And he's like, we're selling people like a new telephone plan. And he was literally gleeful when we'd get to a house, there was an old lady, and he would tell me about all the ways that the plan that they were changing off from was actually better for them, but because I'm such a smooth talker, I'm going to change them to this, you know, this new plan. And it's like, cool. So is that, some would say that's law of the jungle, you know, that's just life. That's just, you know, that's the big fish eating the small fish. The little old ladies getting moved off of Telstra, put onto fucking whatever it was, AAPT or whatever, you know, some other phone provider that was shitter, just undeniably shitter than the one she had. But he just thought it was like, yeah, that's just me getting mine. Fuck you, fuck her, kind of thing. And I'm like, is that the kind of person that, if that person was born in a different place to different parents, would he have ended up being a billionaire? Because it's kind of the same attitude that pervades all of that sort of thing, you know? It's that, fuck you, I've got mine, people don't want it, they should get better, they should just do better, be smarter, be whatever. And it's like, mate, this is an 80-year-old woman who has no concept probably that there even is different phone providers or phone plans, or wouldn't even know what half these things you're talking about are. Like, is the solution really that everyone becomes an expert in everything to protect themselves from people like you? It was really interesting. It was like one of those real sort of formative moments in my life. And so I did, like, as soon as I could ditch this fucking chubby retard, I shouldn't use the R word, but he was just like a fucking complete loser. Like, so as soon as I could ditch him, I did, and I think I just got off, because that's the thing, we caught the bus. Like, we got on a bus, so I didn't even know where I was. So I like just got on the first bus that pulled up, and I'm like, this is my bus, and got on the bus to fucking God knows where, found a timetable, you know, probably spent 2 hours getting myself home, because I just didn't want to be in the company of this fucking loser for any longer. But then, yeah, with the way that he was, the body that guy woke up in the world, yeah, he was just destined to be a fucking loser who, like, sold little old ladies bad phone plans and didn't give a fuck about it. But then it's like, nice. But then it's like, if he was if he was the son of, you know, a diamond magnate or something, he would probably be fucking lethal and cause untold, you know, bother and strife, and probably make himself very, very wealthy, because that, you could say, in the cold, harsh law of the jungle sense, that is probably a really good skill, to not give a fuck about your fellow person. So yeah, just interesting. It was just one of those formative moments with me, and it does echo through now when I think about all these like ultra rich people just doing whatever the fuck they want, and just being like, well, someone should have stopped us then, fuck you. Like, truly, that's the vibe. Yeah. Anyway, one of those little moments in my life that I'm like, yeah. So anyway, so if I had $80 million, I would feel too bashful to keep much more than probably a couple million for myself. And I don't know, I just think the amount of problems that I know exist in the world, I just think it's our duty to do whatever we can. And sometimes what we can do isn't a huge amount, but I just think we need to try and do whatever we can do. Nice. This still here should be a little bit different to the D2, the K110 from the last one. Sharpening up all right. So yeah, that's what I would spend it on. It's a bit of a bugbear of mine, because I've had friends in these situations, and I just know a bit about that specifically. You might be really into, like, I don't know, some other thing that your life experience has made you realize is really pressing issue. Maybe you're an environmentalist and you want to save a frog of some kind, or like, you know, you want to save a wetland or something like that. I just think like that's what money and power should be for. Yeah. Not for having clandestine, decade-long friendships with pedophiles and trafficking, you know, poor young Russian girls. Just, yeah. But again, like, maybe it is the destiny of people who think like me to never raise to that higher station, because if I got $1 million, I'd probably give too much of it away to ever soundly invest and, you know, increase my you know, net wealth enough to ever have like an amount to do well in. And maybe that's the origin of billionaire sickness. Maybe they just think, oh, if I had $100 billion, then I could, you know, then I could sort it. So I'm just going to be a cunt for another $20 billion until I've got $100 billion, and then the plan will, then everyone will realize, oh, he was good the whole time. Maybe that's the most generous spin you can put on billionaires' disease, on the Epstein class. Although there is no spin you can put on anyone who is on those Epstein emails as like someone sending them or receiving them. I mean, and goodness, I've been on the site, like it is crazy, unprecedented times. You can go on an official government site and see and read all this crazy shit. But like, and yeah, so just because someone's, yeah, there's a thing going around, oh, if you search this name, it comes up this many times. That's not particularly the metric we should be using, because half the time these billionaires are talking about people that they fucking hate. Like we had a pretty cringy politician here, Bill Shorten, a while back, and Bill was a goober. But, you know, had some policies that obviously made billionaire types really fucking like, oh shit, hope this doesn't catch on anywhere else. And, you know, as such, one of our local billionaires funded a bit of a thing about him, and like a campaign that sort of threw a bit of a spanner in his works. And I'm not saying that Bill would have been an amazing prime minister. I don't know enough. Like, I truly don't know. But he's in the files simply because they're talking about him being all like, fuck, this guy sucks. We as evil billionaires hate this. You know, so just because someone's in there from a search point of view, so you need to actually get the context found. And there's a lot of good journalists doing that context right now. Patrick, Lincoln, he's the one I watch a lot. He's like a financial guy, but he's kind of got a Scottish way about him, and he's kind of got a good, bit of a crass way that he presents things, which is good, but he's very, very intelligent, clearly very intelligent as well. So he's a guy that I can sort of have a decent amount of faith in, I think. And yeah, there's a few ways to kind of navigate this information. But gosh, see, I'm back to it again. It's tough. I'm struggling. I must admit, I'm struggling with it in a way. Like, it's my one New Year's resolution that I'm not really doing as well on as I was hoping, and that's just to spend less time poisoning my brain on like short form content. But I just can't help but feel it is important. It's important to me because of like what I do professionally, what I do, like people I've known in my life that have been victims of people like these people. And so it is important to me, and this is why it's like the ultimate miscalculation that they ever got involved in this stuff at all. And more importantly, that they ever like pushed those first few conspiracy theories where they tried to just make like some of them seem like they were like crazy cannibalistic pedophiles. Like, what a dumb thing to have encouraged years ago, because that just really lit a fire, and that really shown that that's something that people, just generally speaking, really do get impassioned about. Like, do you remember when there was that Sound of Freedom movie? And everyone was like, you've got to go see this movie. It's amazing. I'm seeing it 6 times, you know. And that was like a certain group of people, you know. And because it's a safe high horse to sit on, as it should be. I don't think people should fuck kids. Very safe high horse to sit on. But then it's like, where's that guy now? Like, why isn't he on the front foot with all this Epstein stuff? That guy, like, I don't really follow who he was, but I remember he was a bit of a guy, like he was a polarizing kind of guy. It's like, where are all those people that were like, there was like teary people uploading little videos about how much Sound of Freedom touched them and how it's just like such an important issue, human trafficking. And it's like, all right, well, now we are in the human trafficking endgame, and it is changing the vibes of the fabric of society. Like, let's all get on board. Like, let's all of us people who aren't ever going to have more than perhaps a couple of $1 million of general wealth, if that, let's all get on the same team with this, you know? And I will truly open the door to, like, well, as I said, I've been so impressed by Thomas Massey and Rokana, like, just taking risks and having some form of integrity about something, just something, make me feel something, you know? So I'll literally say to anyone, like, even if you think I'm a woke fucking lefty because I've got anime tats, and obviously I'm a little bit more of a, like, I think there should be more welfare and we should look after people, and, you know, that's a certain type of guy, right? And I know that's not for everyone. Probably a lot of you aren't that. Like, you might all be a bit more of the because I feel like I'm a libertarian for people that don't need help or don't need intervention. But for people who do need intervention, I think the intervention should come generously. That is my literal political platform. Probably very populist, really. I don't know. But, that's going to probably rub a few people up the wrong way, whatever. But truly, I roll out the offer. Like, we can surely all agree that they should not be blacking out those names of all the nonces on the paedophile list, on the paedophile emails with Jeffrey Epstein, with Steve Bannon. He's the fucking he probably comes off the worst out of much of it that I've read. Steve Bannon, fucking Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. Like, it is just, you got to say these names. Like, you got to say it. You got to put a light on it, because I'm not going to be a Jimmy Savile protector after Jimmy Savile's dead, and that's what we're all getting put at risk of. Maybe not all us at the bottom, but anyone with a shred of actual power over this, that is the choice that you're making now if you're sitting on your hands. And that's, I think, what all of us at the bottom need to reflect on when we spend our money, when we vote. What am I spending? Is the person I am funding or supporting right now Epstein adjacent? Pretty simple question. Really cuts the core, I think, a little bit. So that's just my views. I'm sort of interested to hear yours. I'm not sure if there's going to be heaps of angry people in the comments of this video or not, but I guess just try not to be, because I truly don't have hate in my heart for just anyone who has been taken down a rabbit hole of algorithmic whatever. Like, if your algorithm has served you like country music, I want to drink my truck, drive my beer, all that stuff, if that's been you because of a few of your passive interests, and that's the way that this very purposeful endeavor has shaped you, then I truly don't really mean you any offense. Or I just think we all need to acknowledge that this pretty big moment is happening right now, and put all of our other shit down for a minute and get on the same page. Let's find people who we can put in charge, because the world does need people in charge. It just does. It's too big. As I said, we can't all do everything for ourselves. Like, I don't have enough hours in my day to have a road to dig a road that comes to my house, to have my garbage go to the garbage dump, to make sure that the land around my house is managed and won't catch fire when it's a hot sunny day. I don't know everything about food science, so I can't become an expert in all the chemical codes that are in the food, so I can make choices and measurements on how much is in everything that What I'm getting at is that we do need institutions and people to sort of do that work for us, and I just think that's we all, the contract is that we all pay some tax and say, look, I don't have time to make sure the food I'm eating comes from a clean factory. So if I give you a little bit of tax money, can you make sure that happens so I can just eat without fucking worrying all day? That's the contract we're all actually in. And I just think we need to kind of simplify it down a bit, realize that we are all on the same team. And by we, I mean us non-Epstein class. And just like each other a little bit more and support each other a little bit more, because we are the people who are getting used by this class, and that is I just think it's incontrovertible. I just don't think we can't ignore it anymore. It's been this way forever. I'm not, the previous administration absolutely could have done more about this, the one before too, I'm sure. It's not, but it's just the time is now. Now is the time. It's winking at us. We're looking down at it and it's winking at us. And you either turn away or you go, this is it, and now's the time. Let's all hold our noses and have a bit of social change. Because that's what that AG lady said. She was like, if we prosecuted everyone who was in this list, there'd be no one to run anything anymore. It'd upend everything. And it's and the meme was, oh, so it's a load-bearing child pedophile ring, is it? Okay, so we don't want to mess with it. It's Jesus, just get rid of them. Jesus, that's one. These are the type of conditions that a figure like Jesus would really do well coming out of. I bet Rome in 0 was kind of like this, but there was lots of corruption, lots of excess, lots of hoarding of wealth. So you get a young upstart fella come out saying, you know what? maybe people shouldn't hold each other in debt, and there shouldn't be money lenders who ask for the money back later, and we should all just be nice to each other and realize that we're all one class, really, and support each other and be kind to one another and all that good shit. And it's crazy that that's really, led to so many, as Philomena Kunk says, we've all fought like rats in a shoe since we heard people like Jesus say things like that to us. But on the whole though, I'm not religious, don't do any of the supernatural side of it, but that just makes sense, doesn't it? Like, and anyone who says it doesn't, I just think, is, whether they mean to or not, working for that Epstein class these days. No good. Anyway, see, I'm back on it, guys. It's tough. It's tough to shift my, got to get through this without developing a mental illness. No, I'm actually fine. I went to the gym this morning, did pull-ups, push-ups, I did Pilates 100s, my God. Get abs and look ridiculous whilst doing it, but does the job. Did bicep curls, did Romanian split squats. One of those Eastern European split squats of some type. And it was really, really good. That is always what cleans my slate. Yesterday I got off Instagram, deleted the app for probably a week or so, took my dogs for a nice long walk. These are things you need to do to take care of yourself. I'm in the process, perhaps making a couple of friends, reacquainting with some older friends. My need for friends, I learnt that last year, to actually have these, kind of the conversation I'm having with you now, but it's always nicer when it's two ways. And I have friends that have, about these little things, about, say, taxes and about welfare and about, political issues, different views, but I'll always thank them for their time and for their candor and just for listening to each other, because I'm always interested to hear why some people, think that way, like why some people don't think the same way as I do. And it all just comes down to lived experience. Like the work that I do, I just see so many people that have awful lives just because of a lack of anyone giving them anything when they were little. Like anyone stepping in when they were little kids and being all like, let's fucking sort this out. Let's get you some clean clothes, put you a nice stable roof over your head. Just make it so you want for nothing until you're, I would say 18. But, okay, devil's advocate, let's say 14. And you know what? We could probably pay for it if we just taxed some of these fucking billionaires just a little bit, Anyway. Whoa, Pete's dangerous ideas. Heard it here first. But yeah, that's what my background has taught me. If your background's different, maybe you work in a prison and you just think they're all dog shit and that they should be like a super death penalty. Like, I don't know, it's all people have got is their backgrounds to inform them on how to think. So always love just having respectful dialogue with people. That's all. Anyway, because there isn't one right way to run the world. I'm sure of that. So yeah, I've been really putting time into making friends, keeping the friendships, just watering them with little Snapchat messaging, that sort of stuff, keeping in touch. Good for you, Got to fight back that male loneliness, And as a guy, which I am assuming you are because you're watching this and my analytics suggests it's about it's a sausage fest, it is. It's about a 95%. Being a better you will make you a better husband, boyfriend, father, being a person in good working order. As I've said this before, the times of just being able to be a guy that provides resources are done. The forces that be have made it so the man and the woman both work now. That's life, right? And so I'm probably being almost offensively basic about all this, but because I still think of this myself. I have a few mantras that I'm you can't forget, you can't take for granted. And it is true that you just can't ever rely on just you providing resources is going to be enough for your wife and kids or your girlfriend. It's just not. You have to be talented, funny, just enjoyable to be around, interesting. Because the new relationship energy and the resources, at the very best, that'll get you in 5 years' time a generic routine relationship, which the way the world is now will not last. Women, I promise you, Women are from the camp, men are from the hunt. Men do the same thing every day. Got patted on the back for it. Go out, catch the wildebeest. Women were the ones at camp dealing with shit, being fluid. Has stuff changed? Oh shit, we've got to move everything upstream because the water's flooding. Oh shit, there's a bushfire over there. We've got to move the whole camp before the men get back. Oh, there's a crocodile in the water. We've got to, you know. Women were the ones that were doing like rapid problem solving, whereas men were doing like, yeah, just the job, the hard physical job, but the same job, day in, day out. So men have the whole, if it ain't broke, I'm not fixing it, or I'm not going to identify a problem that's not quite there yet. Whereas women, yeah, women are just different. So unless you want to be screaming and yelling about this forever, you need to get with the program and get on with it. And make yourself a interesting, flexible, like dynamic person to be around and enjoyable to be around. You can do it. It's never too late. Never too late. Take a few things out of your company. You think I wanted to go to a fucking swimming lesson with like two old ladies and two, you know, bless their hearts, but two East Asian guys who couldn't speak English? Do you think that's not a bit embarrassing for me? And do you think like when I see little kids just powering past me in the pool that I don't feel like a complete dick? Yeah, I do. But I know it's to make me a better rounded me. And you know what? Them old ladies and them East Asian guys are nice. I can't really talk to the guys, and little old ladies are like just slightly too large a generation gap, but pleasant people to be around. I would say hello to all of them next time I see them at the shops, right? And that is a good vibe. It just is. But you pay for it with a bit of embarrassment, leaving your comfort zone just a little bit. How is Kyle's knife looking? Let's have a look here. Oh, I mean, this knife really does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. He has ground this fucker so thin. It's just amazing. And this, you know what? Don't buy anything ever. I don't expect everyone to be that crazy as I am. If you want to buy a knife, best thing you can do, just ethically, all around, is buy from a small maker who's making them themselves. Like you're directly putting your money into another American's pocket, perhaps, which I think in this day and age, with all I'm talking about today, all of us little folks supporting each other, that's what you do right now, my dudes. That is what I think is the right way to spend your knife money. Just go to Kyle, go to Gary Creeley, go to Alex Dron, go on Instagram, find your little knife maker of choice, or your small US company. If that's if that's sort of how you feel like you're improving your local community. And I'm saying US right now because whilst I know I have some British, Australian, I know most of you are American. So that's just all I'm saying is that probably a really constructive thing you can do, because the way I feel like I've gone on today, it does feel a bit helpless, doesn't it? Like you're like, what can I fucking even do in the face of this? Like, do I just need to wait? And, apart from seeing where, who you support, with both your time, your social media likes are somewhat important. The systems know who is bots and who is people. And if you put a big old like under someone who's doing some work that you think is good, that does actually help, just a little tiny bit, but a little tiny bit helps better than no help. But also, it's how you spend your money. And I don't know, do you want to support Bezos and his fucking Palantir adjacent drone fucking program? Do you want to support just the guy from Spotify fucking funding, stuff that's just going to kill more poor people on the other side of the planet? No, just where you can, I know it's hard to opt out, but where you can opt out and get yourself a nice handmade thing from a fellow worker, a fellow pleb, like Kyle, or like Gary, or shit, even like Spyderco, Benchmade, these American companies, they're not huge, they're not massive multinational conglomerates. I think Cold Steel might be owned by a multinational conglomerate, but I'm not sure if they're an evil one or not, I don't know. But anyway, just a bit of consideration will make you feel better about where you dump your money, and it kind of does just push back against that whole "you're all financial batteries to us" narrative. If you do feel like buying, I still maintain that the best thing you can do with your money in this current world is pay off your debts. They fucking hate that, and that's kind of what I relish doing the most at the moment. Anyway, alrighty, I think I've suitably shined this one up. Let's do a final little cut. Oh, beautiful. Two nice new sharp knives, freehand sharpened whilst talking a bit of cooker shit to my internet friends. That's not a bad way to spend an afternoon, and my brain feels a bit lighter having done it. Now to upload the video and probably maybe wince through some of the comments. I'm always a bit more bashful about these more these more candid videos I upload, but there you go. We'll see how that develops. All right, my friends, thanks for your attention. Thanks for watching. Like, I do appreciate your attention. This channel is not making money anymore. Like, I'm not uploading enough for the AdSense to really be doing much. So it's truly just a labor of love now. So I'm just really putting up the videos that I feel like putting up. Me and Teresa are doing a fun video. I think next time we've got a bit of time together. We've each thought of 5 things that are like make a marriage good. So we're going to do that. Like, that's, that might not be a cup of tea, but I'd love it if you came and watched and threw in some comments and maybe, I don't know, learnt something. We're a pretty decent case study. So anyway, that's what's on the cards. Yeah, I'll see you all in the next one, whatever that is. Goodbye.